Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. It's Paulie Esther here. And yesterday Dead by Daylight put out a tweet talking about the upcoming mid-chapter patch and the public test build for that patch with some Trickster buffs. So let's check this out. Did you just say Trickster buff? I did just say Trickster buff. Oh wait, that was us. Read all about that and more in this month's very technical developer update. Find out everything coming to next week's PTB here. And when you click that link, it takes you to the official Dead by Daylight forums with this developer update written here, July 2nd by Death by Giggles. All right, it's time for another developer update, a series of posts detailing what we're working on and what you can expect in the future. A quick heads up before we get started, our focus for this post is to explain what is currently being worked on and made available in the upcoming mid-chapter patch. That said, the second half of this post is going to be very technical. You have been warned. Oh boy, okay. I don't have the big brain. I'll try and keep up, everyone. Here we go. The Trickster. Now that it has been a few months since the launch of the All-Kill chapter, it's time for the Trickster's post-launch review. This is something we do for all new killers once they've had a few months to settle into the game. Reviewing the data, the Trickster tends to fall on the lower end of the roster, even among the top few percent of Trickster players. So we feel comfortable making some improvements to him to bring him up a few spots. We've made several changes to Laceration to make it a more tense back and forth battle. For starters, the number of knives required to damage a survivor has been reduced to 6, down from 8. The delay before Laceration Decay starts has been reduced to 10 seconds, down from 20 seconds, and the rate of decay for Laceration has been increased to 0.3 per second while running and 0.4 per second at all other times, up from 0.235 and 1.175 respectively. Okay, let me read this. Together, these changes should make chases quicker and more interesting. The Trickster will be able to down survivors much faster, but a good survivor may be able to break line of sight for long enough to start decaying their laceration meter. Additionally, we reduced the amount of laceration lost for hitting a survivor with a basic attack from 4 to 3. We've all accidentally run into a survivor while throwing knives before. Swing away. Okay, so this part isn't that technical. Obviously, you're going to be able to injure survivors with fewer knife hits, and survivors will be able to have their meter for the number of hits decay quicker if they can keep away from Trickster. So that's interesting. Next, we look at main event. So this is Trickster's special power. Main event would activate fairly frequently, but the long activation time often meant that the survivor could break the line of sight before you had a chance to start throwing knives again, making it difficult to use at times. With that in mind, we've made the following changes. Main event activation time has been shortened to half a second, down from 1.5 seconds, and the number of knives required to activate main event has been increased to 30. Increase the amount of time you can hold main event to 30 seconds, up from 10 seconds. With these changes, we aim to make main event less frequent but more meaningful when it does activate. By increasing the time it can be held before it must be activated, you'll have more freedom to choose when to activate it and be able to use it more effectively when you do, thanks to that lowered activation time. And last but certainly not least, it could sometimes be difficult to tell when your blades were hitting a survivor, and to improve that feedback, we've added hit indicators that appear where the survivor was hit. Okay, that sounds cool. With the base changes out of the way, we also need to look into a few of his add-ons. Most add-ons are behaving as expected, but there are a few outliers that fall significantly above or below the rest that we needed to adjust. Melodious Murder. With the number of knives required to injure reduced to 6, Leaving this add-on as is would be a little too much, and with that in mind, we've reworked this add-on completely to give increased reload speed at lockers instead. Yeah, so Melodious Murder significantly reduced the capacity of a survivor's laceration meter, and they've effectively already done that by making the injury requirement down to 6 knife hits as base kit. So yeah, that I can see why they changed this entirely. Fizz Spin Soda, it previously granted the effects of having already thrown 3 knives. This one is a slight tweak. The bonus has been decreased to the effect of 2 knives. The initial rate bonus granted before was a little too high, which made it an obvious choice every time. So Trickster gets stacks for each knife he throws, and he starts throwing faster and faster. So this would help him increase his throw rate early with this add-on. So they just gave that one a slight nerf, I would say. Iridescent Photo Card. Now when a survivor is 2 or fewer blade hits away from the maximum, they will be exposed. This will give you a larger window to work with. So before it was 1 hit away from the maximum, they would become exposed. So that's a buff. Death Throws Compilation. This is another one that needed to change due to the lower laceration meter to prevent things from getting out of hand. Now Death Throws Compilation will replenish the Trickster's knives when main event ends. So Death Throws previously allowed you to deliver laceration damage based on proximity, and you could get up to 200% damage, which would mean if you were really close to the survivor with these new laceration meters only requiring 6 hits, you could down them in as few as 3 knife hits. So yeah, I can see why they changed that. Iridescent Death Throws. Lucky Blade and Waiting for You Watch. These add-ons didn't see much use before, so they've been reworked with a completely new effect. Hitting a survivor with a blade during main event will extend main event's duration. Last but certainly not least, we reviewed the Trickster's perks and made changes to both No Way Out and Hex Crowd Control. No Way Out. This perk can do quite a bit, but it can also be very inconsistent. If you're missing a token or two, or if the survivors are preoccupied when the gates are first powered, it's possible they'll completely miss the effect. And with that in mind, we have increased the base time of the perk to 12 seconds and increased the bonus time for each token to up to 12 additional seconds. The perk only activates whenever a survivor interacts with an exit gate for the first time, and you'll receive a loud notification when they do. These changes increase the potential maximum time from 46 seconds to 60 seconds and ensures that it will have a noticeable effect. The bottom part is the most important to me. There were many times where I would finish a generator, and by the time I got to the gate, I would see the entity had released the gate. If you don't know what this perk does, this is the perk that blocks you off of the exit gate latch to open it. So there were many times where I would start to run up to a gate, and I would see the entity had blocked it, but then by the time I got there, it would be like, never mind, just kidding, and it had already expired. So the fact that it will wait until the survivor first touches it, that's amazing. And the killer's going to know when you're touching the gate. I think that's very interesting change here for sure. These changes, okay, sorry, I read that part already. Hex Crowd Control, a simple adjustment, but one that should have a big impact. Increase the amount of time a window stays blocked from up to 14 seconds to up to 20 seconds. That's interesting. So this is the perk that you basically like bamboozle yourself. When you go through the window vault, it becomes blocked. Instead of like, you know, bamboozle, the killer has to go through the window to block it. So you end up blocking it, and it is a hex totem perk. 20 seconds, that's could definitely have some impact there. All right, moving on. That's all of the Trickster stuff done. Now we move on to Survivor Visual Update. If you've had your eye on social media for a while, or the many places they were reposted, you may have seen some early previews for Survivor model updates. These visual updates are part of the realm beyond our ongoing effort to improve the visuals of the game. Some of you are dying to know when you'll see these updated models in game, and you won't need to wait much longer, as the updated models will appear in the mid-chapter update. With that said, we've also seen some people ask why. When the game first launched, a lot of things, characters included, featured a completely different art style. You can still see some traces of this in the original Survivors. Look closely at Dwight's shirt, and you'll notice a watercolor effect that isn't used anymore. Yeah, that's true. As time went on, we moved towards a more realistic style, with more detailed textures and refined models. This left some of the more recent Survivors looking great, while others started to feel a little dated. Our goal with these changes is not to change the characters significantly, but rather bring them up to date. We've been playing with these Survivors for years, and some of us have grown very attached to them. Some of you a little too much, and we've seen that art you've made. You know who you are. This is part of the reason why we've been sharing previews for so long. We've been combing through your feedback to make sure that the updated versions of each Survivor are as similar as possible to the ones you know and love. If you've been losing sleep over David King's smaller brow, you can rest easy. We've gone back and made some adjustments. Team Felix. With that said, here's a quick taste of what you can expect in case you've missed the many teasers. Please keep in mind that these previews do not include animations, so expressions like Ace's trademark smirk won't appear here. But don't worry, he's still got it. Note these are work in progress images, and some changes have been made since. Alright, so there is Meg, David King, Claudette, and Nia. Is this clickable? Can we see more than that? Okay, they're just zoom in on them. They didn't give all of them to us. They just gave us a few. David King. I'm just happy that the entity finally provided all these Survivors with a shower, honestly. Okay, maybe we'll review all of these in another video, because this is probably going to be a long one, so I don't want to dwell on this too much. But there are more models to be shown, including a Lori model that was accidentally leaked by the community manager in Korea. Anyway, okay, here we go. Updated tutorials. Your first steps in the fog can be scary and unforgiving, so we've been working on improvements to the new player experience across the board. In this upcoming mid-chapter, you'll find a pair of brand new tutorials, one for Killer and one for Survivor. We've learned a lot about what you want in a tutorial, so we now cover more than the old ones. Each tutorial also takes place in a single continuous level, rather than a series of mini-levels cut together. This way, everything flows together like a real match, just more controlled so things don't get out of hand. That sounds pretty cool. As a heads up, we've been seeing reports of preferences being reset, such as perks and cosmetics for Dwight and Trapper after playing the tutorial. This bug does not revert any of your progress, but it's something the team is aware of and will be resolved in the near future. Yeah, I played the tutorials and I made a video showing how I played the tutorials, and you get like a David King and a Wraith skin for doing it. And the drawback of that was that it unequipped all of my charms, all of my perks, and my cosmetics. Now, I didn't lose anything, I just had to redress my character and reselect perks. So it was a minor annoyance, but the blood points, and you get a blood point charm for doing that too, so in my opinion it was worth it. Now, a tutorial is great and all, but it doesn't quite compare to hands-on experience. Before you jump into an online match, you can now practice in offline bot matches. This will let you try out everything you've learned in a real-world scenario without the stress of other people watching. Bot matches are already available on the live version of the game. Click the Getting Started button on the main menu to check them out. People loved being able to play with and against the bots, and the thing that I heard back from most people is that they wanted to be able to do it with all the killers. Hopefully that's something that we're going to see come in. Finally, we've added beginner tooltips to the menus. The game has grown a lot over the years, so there can be a lot to take in if you're just starting out. Hovering over most buttons will let you know what they do and help you find your way around. If you're already a seasoned veteran and find the idea of a tooltip describing something insulting, don't worry, you can turn these off in settings. Fair, fair, fair. HUD improvements. One of the most common requests we received following our previous changes was the ability to customize the HUD. While full customization is still just a twinkle in a designer's eye, we have added the ability to toggle on and off some of the non-crucial parts of the HUD. In the settings menu, you'll find new options to toggle off on and off the killer hook counter, scoring events, players' names in match. Each can be toggled independently in case you want one, but not the rest. Interesting. Game health, pallet hits. Okay, this is where we get into the real technical stuff. Adjust glasses for full nerddom. In this mid-chapter, we aimed to address some of the most frequent and annoying issues you can run into while playing. One of the things topping that list is getting hit through a pallet well after you've dropped it. Before we get into the solution, we'll run through why this happens in the first place. The first thing to note is latency, the time it takes to send and receive information to and from other players. Latency is a fact of life in any online game. It takes time for information to travel across the country to the players you're playing against or the server you're connected to. This delay means what you see and what the other players see can differ significantly depending on connection strength and distance from the server. We do what we can to reduce latency as much as possible, but it's impossible to eliminate it entirely. Yeah, that's very true and fair. So how does this apply to pallets? Simply put, each player sees something different. The survivor sees themselves throwing the pallet before they get hit. The killer sees themselves hitting the survivor before the pallet is dropped. To give you a better idea of what this looks like, take a look at this simplified diagram. Is this Arnold and Bardock again? Okay. Survivor. Okay, so the survivor is here. And the killer is here. And then the server... Oh, okay, so this is... I've thrown the pallet and I've been hit. And this is... The killer is swinging, the killer is here. And the server sees something in the middle. I don't understand this diagram. Can I have Arnold and Bardock, please? I need Arnold and Bardock, please, back to help me understand this. In this example, the survivor drops the pallet first, but the killer doesn't see that until they've already swung their weapon. As a result, the killer hits the survivor and then gets stunned. This isn't so bad when both players have low latency, but it can look very strange and unfair when latencies are high. So what's going to change? Simply put, the survivor will become the judge. I remember Patrick talking about this a long time ago. When you either drop a pallet or swing your weapon, that gets sent to the server. If the server receives a hit before a stun, the killer hits the survivor as they normally would. But if the server receives a stun before a hit, the hit is rejected. This is similar to how hit validation works now. The new diagram would look like this. Why has that got a grab on it? What's happening? I don't understand. As you can see, the server receives the pallet stun first. Are these out of order? I don't understand. And then knows to reject the killer's hit as a result. That said, we have not changed how the mechanic of a pallet stun works. The pallet will still need to be approximately 50% of the way down before it stuns the killer. Grabs. Okay, why does this have a grab on it? I'm confused. This is like the rejection thing? I don't know. I need Arnold and Bardock. I'm sorry I'm failing you all at this. I don't have enough nerd points to explain these diagrams. We're just going to read the text and ignore the diagrams. Okay, game health, grabs. On the flip side, we've all been there. You sneak up on a survivor and go for a grab and nothing happens. You hold your hand out menacingly and watch as they run away. That is super annoying. It's like, you're doing a great job on that generator, survivor. Keep at it. You never get the grab and you don't get a hit. I hate it. It's one of the most annoying things, especially when you see a grab challenge in the Rift. It's like, yeah, right. Why does this happen? A lot like pallet hits, this comes down to latency. Each person sees something different. The killer sees themselves grab the survivor before they can run away, and the survivor sees themselves run away before the killer can grab them. And when the server receives the grab request from the killer, it notices that the survivor is no longer there, so it cancels the grab. Again, here's a diagram to help visualize this. So we're in the middle here somewhere. Killer's like, I'm grabbing. The survivor's like, dude, I ran away this long ago. I'm not even there, bro. Something like that. That's how I'm interpreting this. See, we got these graphs solved now. Diagrams for the win. So what's the solution? The solution for this is much more complicated, so it will come in two parts. A long-term solution and a temporary solution to bridge the gap. The temporary solution. Whenever a grab is rejected by the server, the killer will instead swing their weapon automatically and be granted challenge, progress, and blood points as if they had successfully grabbed the survivor. This way you won't lose out on a hit because the grab was canceled, and you'll have an easier time completing archive challenges, that require you to interrupt survivors. So now the diagram would look like this. Okay, so the survivor's running away, killer is grabbing, and it's like, no, you're too late, bro. So instead, woof, we swing your weapon. The permanent solution. We will rework the way interactions and interrupts work from the ground up with dedicated servers in mind. Our current system has not been significantly changed since the days where the killer was the server and had full authority over grabs, as the survivors were connected directly to them. And with that, we've reached the end of this month's developer update. If you've made it this far, give yourself a pat on the back. Oh, or grab yourself. Yes. Good grab. All right. That was a lot of reading. Way to go! The changes mentioned in this post will be available in the player test build, which starts next Wednesday, July the 7th. As always, we look forward to hearing what you think. All right, well, that's cool. PTB is for Steam players only. You're more than welcome to watch me stream it on Wednesday when that comes out. I'll be interested to see how all of this stuff works. This is very technical with all this latency stuff. I know that grabs just are super annoyance and getting hit through pallets when you feel like you got that pallet down in time. So it's good to see that they are addressing some of these latency issues. I did see recently that the Amazon servers, who I'm pretty sure Dead by Daylight uses for their dedicated servers, that they added additional locations around the world, so that should have already helped some of the latency issues. And then what I always recommend to anyone who is on console is that the best thing that you can do to lower your own latency is to hardwire your device to the internet. That's going to be the speediest connection that you can possibly get in your home rather than using Wi-Fi. So I always recommend that if it's possible at all, that you hardwire your console into your internet with an Ethernet cord. All right, so this is coming on Wednesday. We look forward to seeing all of the fancy makeovers that the survivor gets. And you know, I remember when Trickster came out and he was pretty weak, and they gave him some buffs, and I thought, oh, you know, the Tricksters who play him now are pretty darn good. So it's going to be very interesting to see how powerful Trickster will be now after these buffs. All right, well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you, as always, so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell like a wraith so you don't miss the next video. And as always, take care of each other in and out of the fog, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
It's a Gen Rush life for us. It's a Gen Rush life for us. Set a hiding, we do gens. Set a randoms, we got friends. It's a Gen Rush life